Welcome back, everyone, to the Gold Talk Show, right here on YouTube.
Great to be back.
If you're like us and you just find gold completely captivating, well, you are definitely in the right place.
Absolutely.
We're about to take a really deep dive into all things gold today. We'll explore its incredible journey through history, through
It's
culture.
science.
It's fascinating science, yeah, and, its importance in our economies, it just never seems to fade.
No, it really doesn't. And think of this as like your shortcut to getting really well informed about gold. We've pulled together some amazing sources,
Yeah.
stories from way back, scientific discoveries that kind of show you how gold works.
Hmm.
And just to look at how different societies have valued it. The goal is really to give you a full picture, but, keep it engaging.
Right, a comprehensive but interesting look. Okay, let's dive in. Something that really jumped out at me is just the timeless appeal. It's kind of intense. Like, even now, the high price of gold is actually leading to, well, looting. Looting of ancient sites in Asia.
It's terrible, isn't it?
It really is. Imagine these places holding literal fragments of history, ancient gold artifacts just being targeted.
Yeah.
The Bitmia site in Cambodia is apparently a really sad example. Flourished centuries ago,
And now.
almost completely emptied by treasure hunters.
Right.
It just makes you realize the desire for gold isn't just about, like, cash.
Right.
It's something deeper.
It absolutely is.
Mm.
And it really shows you a constant in human history, doesn't it? This isn't new.
Yeah.
I mean, even somewhere relatively modern, like Singapore has its own gold treasure hunt stories.
Oh, really?
Yeah, back in 1949, there was this huge dig on Stamford Road, all fueled by rumors of buried treasure from, like, the 14th century Temasek era.
Wow.
And maybe the Japanese occupation, too. What's fascinating is just this belief in hidden gold. It really shows how much value we've placed on it, across time, across cultures.
Yeah, it's not just the metal itself. It's what it represents.
Exactly. And that association goes way, way back.
Yeah.
Think about the ancient names for Southeast Asia.
Like land of gold.
All right, Suvanchabhumi.
Okay.
Used as far back as the 4th century BCE, it paints this picture of a region just intrinsically linked with gold.
So it wasn't just something they found. It was like part of their identity.
Absolutely, part of their story. And you see it in early travelers' accounts, too.
How so?
Well, there's this guy, Abuzad al-Sirafi, writing in the 9th and 10th centuries. He talks about a Javanese king whose massive gold hoard was actually redistributed after he died.
Like distributed.
Yeah, like it became this powerful symbol of his glory, a measure of his influence. It shows that early on, gold wasn't just for trading. It was about displaying power, cementing social structures.
That makes sense. But where did that early gold even come from? Did they mine it themselves right away?
Well, our sources suggest the very first gold ornaments in Southeast Asia. We're talking around 400 to 300 BCE. They were actually luxury goods, imported
Imported from where?
from South and West Asia, mainly.
Yeah.
Places like the Taban Caves in the Philippines. They found some of these really early examples. So even back then, you had these established trade routes.
Connecting all these regions? That's amazing.
It is. And thinking about how they got the gold locally later on,
Mm-hmm.
there were basically two main ways: panning and mining.
Okay, panning sounds simple enough.
It is. You're basically just washing river sediment, looking for gold flecks.
Mm-hmm.
The downside for us, it leaves almost no archaeological trace.
Ah, right. So mining.
Mining's much more involved. And in Southeast Asia, it seems it was often backed by royalty, by the ruling powers.
Okay.
And what's really interesting is that controlling the gold mines could actually cause shifts in political power.
How?
Well, imagine resources dwindling in one spot. The center of power might literally move to find more gold-rich areas.
Wow. So gold directly influencing political geography. That's huge.
It is, and it sounds like there's still a lot we're trying to figure out, right?
Definitely. Our sources mention ongoing research, like using mining history to try and pinpoint where the gold actually came from.
Sourcing, yeah.
And using GIS mapping tech to analyze those ancient trade routes. It feels like we're detectives on a really old case.
A very intricate one. And sadly, as you said at the start, the modern looting just makes that detective work even harder. We lose pieces of the puzzle.
Yeah, invaluable pieces. Okay, let's shift gears a bit. From the history, the allure, let's get into the science. What makes gold, well, gold?
Right. For everyone who loves the why behind things, this part's pretty cool.
Okay.
Gold's atomic symbol, aurum. It comes from the Latin word aurum.
Aurum.
And that word has even older roots, Proto-Indo-European, meaning something like to shine or glow, a bit like the word for dawn.
So even the name hints at that visual appeal.
It really does. And scientifically, gold's a transition metal. Bright, slightly orange-yellow color. It's incredibly dense,
Rare.
very heavy, but also surprisingly soft. Malleable, you can hammer it incredibly thin, and ductiles draw it out into wires.
And crucially.
Crucially, it's a noble metal. Think of noble here as meaning unreactive.
Ah, so it doesn't easily combine with other stuff like rust.
Exactly. It resists corrosion really
Sure.
well. That stability is key to so many of its uses.
Okay. And it doesn't just exist as pure gold nuggets, right? You
Yeah.
mentioned finding it mixed with other things.
That's right. You find it in its elemental form, sure, nuggets, grains,
Huh.
but also commonly alloyed with silver. That natural mix is called electrum.
Electrum. Gold and silver.
Yeah, basically. It can also be found with copper, palladium, and even as tiny bits inside other minerals, like pyrite, fool's gold,
Right.
and also in specific minerals called tellurides.
Okay. And that density you mentioned, how dense are we talking?
It's about 19.3 grams per cubic centimeter, so 19.3 times denser than water. Interestingly, that's almost exactly the same density as tungsten.
Tungsten. Why is that interesting?
Well, because counterfeiters sometimes use tungsten bars plated with gold. It feels right, weight-wise. Much harder to fake than using, say, lead, which is way less dense.
Sneaky. Oh, okay. What about that color, that warm reddish yellow? Most metals are just sort of silvery or gray.
Yeah, that unique color. It actually comes down to physics, something called relativistic effects on its valence electrons.
Relativistic effects in
Oh.
gold.
Yeah. Basically, the electrons buzzing around a gold atom move so fast that relativity actually changes how they absorb and reflect light.
Yeah.
It shifts things towards the red end of the spectrum. It's pretty unique among metals.
Wow. Okay. That's not what I expected.
And that's not all. We can change the color by mixing it with other metals alloying.
Like rose gold.
Exactly. Add copper, you get rose gold.
Yeah.
Add palladium or nickel, you get white gold. Silver gives you that greenish yellow tint called green gold.
Gold.
Yep. You can even make blue and purple gold with specific alloys, though they're more brittle.
Amazing.
And even the size of gold particles matters. If you have colloidal gold, tiny, tiny particles suspended in liquid, small particles look red, larger ones look blue.
So gold's like a chameleon, depending on how you treat it. What about isotopes? That sounds technical.
It gets a bit technical, yeah. But basically, isotopes are versions of an element with different numbers of neutrons. Most elements have a few stable ones. Gold, it only have one stable isotope. Gold, 197.
Just one. That's unusual.
It is quite unusual, yeah.
Yeah.
But scientists have created lots of unstable radioactive isotopes in labs. They decay over time. Some last months, like gold 185, others vanish much quicker.
Okay. And this connects to that old dream. Right. Alchemy. Turning lead into gold. Were they completely nuts?
Well, their methods weren't scientific, obviously, but the basic idea of changing one element into another, transmutation, that actually became possible in the 20th century.
Seriously.
Yeah. The first scientific creation of gold was actually in 1924. They bombarded Mercury with neutrons.
And it turned into gold?
It changed the number of protons in the nucleus, yep.
Yeah.
Turned Mercury into gold. You can even do it with bismuth. So scientifically, yes, you can make gold in a nuclear reactor. But
It's incredibly difficult, energy intensive, and way, way more expensive than just mining this stuff. So the alchemist's dream of easy gold, still just a dream.
Okay, so no making gold in the garage then. Let's talk chemistry. We know it's noble, resists most things, but it does form compounds, right? Oh, absolutely. Gold isn't totally inert. It can exist in different oxidation states. Think of that as how many electrons it's gained or lost.
Yeah.
The most common are +1, called Aurous, and +3, called auric.
Okay.
Gold, the +1 state, often bonds with what chemists call soft ligands. It tends to form linear shapes. A really key example is the Au ion that's gold combined with cyanide.
Cyanide. Isn't that used in mining?
Exactly. That specific ion is crucial for dissolving gold out of ore in the mining process.
Right. And while it resists most acids...
It does dissolve in aqua regia.
Yep.
That's a really potent mix of nitric and hydrochloric acid. And it also reacts with selenic acid.
Aqua regia, royal water. Suitably dramatic name. What about those weirder oxidation states you mentioned, like -1, gold acting negatively?
Yeah, isn't that wild? In the -1 state, gold actually grabs an electron and becomes a negative ion, an auride, like in cesium auride, CSO. It can do that because it has a surprisingly high electron affinity. It likes electrons. The +2 state often involves gold atoms bonding directly to each other. And +5 is super rare, only seen in very specific complex compounds. It Just shows gold's chemistry is more versatile than you might first think.
It really is. Okay, so we know what gold is chemically, but where did all the gold on Earth actually come from? It didn't just pop up, right?
No, definitely not. The leading theory, and it's a pretty amazing one, is that most of Earth's original gold actually sank into the core when the planet was first forming and molten.
Sank to the core, so the gold we can actually get to.
Is thought to have arrived later, delivered to the crust and mantle by massive asteroid impacts during what's called the Late Heavy Bombardment.
Asteroids. Delivering gold.
Yep. Billions of years ago, around 4 billion years ago, the inner solar system was getting pummeled. Those impacts are thought to have seeded the upper layers of Earth with gold and other heavy elements that had previously sunk down.
That is genuinely mind-boggling. We owe our gold to cosmic collisions.
Wow. Pretty much. Now, what about those super-rich deposits, like the Witwatersrand in South Africa? That place is legendary.
Right. Didn't a huge asteroid impact nearby create that? The Vredefort Dome?
Well, that was the initial thought, that the Vredefort impact, which was massive, somehow created or deposited the gold. But the evidence now suggests the gold-bearing rocks in the Witwatersrand Basin are actually much older than the impact event.
Oh, okay. So what did the impact do then?
It likely played a crucial role in bringing that gold to where we could find it. The impact massively distorted the whole basin, essentially tilting and exposing those ancient gold-rich rock layers near the surface around Johannesburg.
It didn't deliver the gold, but it sort of unearthed it for us.
Exactly. It made it accessible. And the amount of gold from that one region is just staggering. A huge percentage of all gold ever mined.
Incredible geological luck in a way. Is there another theory about where gold comes from? Something about the mantle?
Yes. There's another perspective suggesting that some gold was incorporated into Earth right from the start, as the planet formed from smaller bodies called planetesimals, and it remained in the mantle.
Okay.
And more recent research suggests geological processes, maybe involving deep mantle plumes or something similar, could have transported gold from deep within the Earth up towards the surface over millions of years.
So it could be a mix of extraterrestrial delivery and stuff coming up from deep inside.
It could be. The exact balance and mechanisms are still active areas of research, but the bottom line is, the gold we interact with likely has these incredibly deep origins, either from space or from deep within our planet.
It definitely adds another layer to its value, knowing that. Okay, so on the surface, where do we actually find it?
Well, gold ores date back billions of years into the Precambrian. Most commonly, you find it as the native metal, but often mixed or alloyed with silver. Remember electrum.
Right, the natural gold-silver mix, pale looking.
Yeah, if you've got over 20% silver, it looks distinctly whitish silvery.
Yeah.
Then you have lode deposits. Think of veins of gold running through rock, offered with quartz or sulfides like pyrite.
And placer deposits, like panning.
Exactly. That's where gold is eroded out of those lode deposits, got washed downstream by rivers or glaciers, and then concentrates in riverbeds or beaches as flakes, grains, or even those classic nuggets.
Nuggets. Everyone loves a gold nugget.
They're iconic. Gold can also show up combined with tellurium in specific minerals and in rare alloys with things like bismuth, mercury, copper. And interestingly, some research even hints that microbes might play a role in concentrating gold in some places.
Microbes making gold deposits richer. That's unexpected.
Nature finds ways.
Okay, what about that old idea of getting gold from seawater? Is that just a myth?
Seawater gold. Well, it's not entirely a myth in the sense that there is gold dissolved in seawater, but the concentration is incredibly, incredibly low. We're talking parts per trillion, maybe parts per billion. Over the years, lots of people have claimed they could extract it economically, but it's mostly been scams or failed attempts.
Like that German attempt after World War I.
Yeah, Fritz Haber, the famous chemist, led a serious effort hoping to pay off war reparations. Even he couldn't make it work economically. The concentration is just far too tiny for any current technology to extract profitably.
Okay, so no becoming a sea-based gold tycoon just yet.
Right.
All right, let's shift again. We've done history, science, geology. What about gold's role in us? In culture, economies, technology? It's clearly way more than just a shiny rock.
Oh, absolutely. Its impact is immense. Think about coinage. Gold coins go back to ancient Lydia around 610 BC. That was revolutionary for trade and value.
A standard measure of wealth.
Exactly. And it pops up everywhere in religion and myth. The Old and New Testaments mention it frequently. You've got legends like the Golden Fleece, the search for El Dorado. It's deeply embedded in our stories.
And that search wasn't just mythical, right? The pursuit of actual gold drove a lot of exploration.
Huge driver.
Yeah.
especially European exploration and colonization. Think about West Africa, the Gold Coast. That name wasn't random.
No, there was serious gold there.
Absolutely. From the 15th century onwards, European powers, starting with the Portuguese, were trading heavily for gold there. Empires like the Ashanti controlled vast gold resources and became major players, but it also led to conflict and exploitation, of course.
Yeah, it's sobering to think about the human cost associated with the global pursuit of gold. But on a more symbolic level, gold seems to represent the best of things too, doesn't it? Perfection, divinity.
Wisdom, yeah. The golden rule, the golden ratio,
Yeah.
and milestones, golden anniversaries, golden years. It signifies value and importance.
And that value translated directly into economics with the gold standard.
Right. For a long time, many countries backed their currency directly with gold. A dollar or a pound represented a fixed weight of gold held in reserve.
But we don't really do that anymore.
Not really, no. The system was gradually abandoned through the 20th century. A major moment was the Nixon shock in 1971, when the U.S. completely decoupled the dollar from gold.
But central banks still hold gold.
Oh, yes. They hold massive gold reserves. It's still seen as a fundamental store of value, a hedge against uncertainty. And gold is traded constantly on global financial markets,
Right.
like the LBMA in London.
So who's pulling the most gold out of the ground these days?
Currently, the biggest producers are China, followed by Russia and Australia.
And where does all that newly mined gold go?
It's interesting. Roughly half, about 50%, goes into making jewelry.
Okay, that makes sense.
Around 40% is for investment, gold bars, coins, things like that. And the remaining 10% or so goes into industrial uses.
Only 10% for industry. I might have guessed more, given how useful it seems.
It might seem small, but that 10% is often for really critical applications where gold's unique properties are essential.
Like what? We know it's good for jewelry because it doesn't tarnish and you can shape it.
Exactly. Its malleability, ductility, and that amazing corrosion resistance are key. For jewelry, it's often alloyed mixed with other metals like copper or silver to make it stronger and change the color. That's where the carat system comes in, measuring purity.
Right, 24 karat being pure.
Yep. But that resistance to corrosion is also vital in electronics.
How so?
Think about all the tiny connectors inside your phone, your computer. They need to conduct electricity reliably for years without corroding. Gold plating is perfect for that.
Ah, okay. So those gold-colored bits inside electronics actually serve a purpose.
A very important one. It's also used in things like infrared shielding. Dentists use it for fillings sometimes, and even in making specialized colored glass, like ruby glass.
So from our phones to maybe even our teeth, gold is quietly essential. What about medicine? You hear about gold treatments sometimes.
Yes, that's another fascinating area. Certain gold compounds have anti-inflammatory properties. They've been used, sometimes still are, to treat conditions like rheumatoid arthritis.
Really? How does that work?
It's complex, but they seem to interfere with immune processes. Historically, gold was tried for other diseases too. And there's a radioactive isotope, gold-198, used in some nuclear medicine cancer therapies.
Wow.
And remember colloidal gold, those tiny particles. They're used in medical diagnostic tests, like some home pregnancy tests and lots of lab research.
Okay, this is way more diverse than I realized. And
Yeah.
then there's edible gold. People actually eat gold.
They do, mostly for decoration.
Yeah.
You see gold leaf, flakes, or dust used on fancy desserts, chocolates, drinks,
Just for looks.
pretty much. It's classified as E number 175 in Europe. It's totally inert, passes right through you, no nutritional value, just adds a bit of bling.
Bling you can eat. Huh.
Though worth noting, some people can develop contact allergies to gold, usually from jewelry.
Right. It's just incredible tracing this metal from like ancient tombs in Cambodia.
To asteroid impacts,
Dude,
to
I-
connectors in our phones,
Wow.
and now garnish on a cake. It's been quite a journey. It really has. And think about its impact on societies.
Mm.
The California gold rush in the 1840s, it completely transformed California. Huge influx of people, massive economic boom.
But also devastating for Native American populations there.
Absolutely.
Mm.
Displacement, violence, destruction of their way of life. The pursuit of gold has often had very dark sides.
Yeah. And thinking about technology against space travel, gold's important there too.
Crucial. That corrosion resistance and its ability to reflect infrared radiation make it vital for coating components on spacecraft, satellites, even astronaut helmets to protect against heat and radiation.
It really seems irreplaceable for certain things.
For specific high-stakes applications, yes. Even looking back at the gold standard, its role in the Great Depression is
Right.
still debated by economists. Did it restrict money supply too much? Did it provide stability? It's complex.
And even further back, ancient Rome, gold was huge for them too, right?
Immense. Coinage, obviously.
Uh,
But also jewelry as a status symbol, decorative items for wealthy households. Their drive to acquire more gold was a big factor fueling Roman expansion, conquering territories known to have gold mines.
So it seems like from the earliest civilizations right up to, well, today and tomorrow's technology, gold is just woven into the fabric of human history.
It really is. We've touched on its ancient allure, the fascinating science behind its properties, its unique chemistry, those almost cosmic origins where we find it, and its huge impact on culture, money, and technology.
It just keeps captivating us, keeps finding new roles.
Absolutely. It's a substance that continues to shape our world in countless ways.
Well, this has been quite the deep dive into the world of gold. We've really covered a lot of ground.
Would have.
And honestly, we've only scratched the surface on some of these topics, but we really hope that you, our viewers, have gotten a good, comprehensive, and hopefully engaging overview of this amazing element.
Yeah, hope you found it interesting. And we'd love to hear your thoughts. If you have any questions or things you'd like to add, definitely drop them in the comments below.
Please do. And if you enjoyed this exploration, if you want to keep up with our deep dives into the world of gold, well, you know what to do. Please hit that like button, share this video with anyone else who might be fascinated by gold.
And definitely subscribe to the Gold Talk Show right here on YouTube.
Yep, subscribing is the best way to make sure you get all our latest updates, our newest insights, everything gold related.
Don't miss out.
Thanks so much for tuning in today, everyone. We'll see you next time.